Hi everybody, it is Building, aka Oaky, and I am doing a video series called Decorators Gone Wild. The reason why I named it that is I started creating a bunch of storage dungeons a few years ago, and my friend came in and toured a couple, and she's like, "You're absolutely crazy." She just said that she was going to do a documentary on my storage dungeons and was going to call it Decorators Gone Wild. And so, to honor her in that, I'm calling my series that. So, what is this video series? I'm going to be covering storage dungeons. Now, a lot of people are scared of them, but there's nothing to be afraid of. So, I'm going to cover the storage dungeon basics in this video. Now, why a storage dungeon? One, they're very easy to travel to, at least in my opinion. So a storage dungeon you can access from a ton of different places. You can do it in the city. You can go to like common lands or wherever and zone into a dungeon. You can go to the Brood zone or the Frostveld Wonderland, and while you're standing at a merchant, you can fill your bags up with all your new goodies, and then you can pop into a storage dungeon from where you are, place all your stuff, unload your bags, go exit, and you're right where you were standing. So you can keep grabbing stuff. So let's say you need 2,000 black marble tile. You could do that. You could grab them, pop into a dungeon, grab as many as you can, place them, go back. You're right next to that merchant. So I love that. You can't go like if you're in a dungeon fight, a real dungeon fighting, or you're in your guild hall or actual house. You can't really go to a dungeon. You might be able to go to a house by placing your house portal inside the storage dungeon, but things have kind of changed with that behavior of putting a teleporter in the storage dungeon. I haven't tested it recently, so I might do a video in the future, but I'm not really covering that here. So there is maybe an option to get to the storage dungeon from your house, but anyway. So most people say to me, "Thank you for putting stuff in a storage dungeon for me, but how do I get to the dungeon?" People don't have any clue. So, if you know how to do it, I'm sorry, but this is for everybody else. To get to a storage dungeon, you push C for the character window, and if you look at your tabs, there's one near the bottom called Dungeons. So you click on that, and a list of all your dungeons. Most people, this is not full. You don't have anything there. I have a zillion storage dungeons, over 100, and that this character has way more because as I was like scrolling earlier through my list, some people have added me to their dungeons. So yeah, the list is huge. Anyway, what do you do? So no one's created a dungeon for you. You're gonna start organizing your own stuff. What do you do? There's a button at the very top middle, create dungeon. If you click that, it will bring up this window that shows you the different options. So there's several different layouts. There's a crush bone keep. There's 5 different options of crush bone keep. There is 4 options for the layer of scale, and there's, let's see, 5 Miss Moore, and then there's a Poet's Palace. So there's all kinds of different layouts. Which layout you pick is totally up to you. I think a lot of people pick like Crush Bone 1 or Crush Bone 4. I like layer of scale 4. It's totally up to you. I highly recommend that you go into each one, kind of run around, tour them, and try and envision how you're going to store stuff. I always use the layer of scale 4. I don't know why I love it. I just do. But to actually create a dungeon, you click on this name field. I like to call things something storage. So painting storage, bed storage, moonlight storage, city festival Freeport storage. I'm just going to call it video storage. Then once you've got your name, and please be careful, double check your naming, make sure that's how you really want to name it. Like, plan out what you're going to name your dungeons before you start doing it. And I'll explain in a minute. So once you've got a name, you click create, and you're like, now what? Well, what it does is it puts it in the list. It does not put them in order. I already had these created, but it added in the middle of the dungeons that I've created for building. So there's no organization. All I can say is when you create dungeons like back to back, they stick together. So I would totally plan out how you want things organized and how you want them in, what order you want them in before you even start creating them. You can create 20 dungeons per character. This is why I have over 100 because I have a lot of characters. But if you create them together all at the same time, they will clump together and they will always be in that order. There's no way to change the order. There's no way to sort it. It's not alphabetical. Because I created these, they're at the top, but that's not always the case. I've had a couple situations where they've appeared further down in the list. Now, for the most part, when you go between characters, they're in sort of the same order, but you just have to remember that usually the ones that you create for that character are up at the top. So some of them might not be in the exact same order. So I'm going to, now what do? I created it. You click on whichever dungeon that you created and then click the edit button. Now there's a claim button. You don't have to worry about that. That was back when you got rewards for creating, fighting dungeons. So I think if people used it, you got tokens, and then people actually running through the dungeon would get tokens. You don't have that anymore, but the button's still there. The delete, a lot of people are worried. It does give you a warning message, and I don't think it allows you to delete if you're not on the owner of the dungeon. I think I tried it, and I'm like 99% sure that that's how it works. So you don't have to worry too much. I used to be worried about, oh, I might delete it or whatever, or someone else might delete it. But yeah, it's got some protection on it. So let's go inside. Edit. So when we load up, there's these special house items that you can only use in a dungeon, and they are they're available no matter what dungeon you're in. It helps you like decorate when you're creating a fighting dungeon or whatever. We're not doing that. We're creating storage, so we don't want this taking up item count. So there's no moving crate with dungeons. There's a toolbox. And it's kind of confusing at first, but it has things like mobs that will fight in there that you can buy off the broker, or they drop off of mobs. Holiday ones like Night of the Dead has some of these. There's like mobs that you can fight. There's also avatars, so you can fight as something else, kind of thing. So anyway, there's these objects that you can like decorate with. We're not doing that. So you type /house, which is kind of confusing. There's no door for you to go to like right click and look at the window. Notice it says there's 66 items placed. I don't want those items. I want to just do my stuff. I don't want these dungeon maker things, even though I love to do it in rail houses, have those items. But anyway, there's a collect all items. It doesn't put it in the moving crate because there is no moving crate. It doesn't put it in your inventory. Just say yes, and they go away. If I type /house again, they're not there anymore. As you can see, there's no plant, there's no statue. So now you just have an empty storage dungeon. Now, the first thing that I do is after I collect all those items is I click on the Access tab. Now, I have a ton of tunes. So what I did was for the very first time, I entered a bunch of them in with trustee access, and then I saved it. And then the next dungeon that I went in, all I had to do was click load. I have 2 of these. It uses the server name and then your character name and access list.txt. So I have 2 different ones. I have this one where I want all my alts to have access to the house or the dungeon or guild hall or whatever. And so every time I go into a new one, I can just quickly say okay and it will populate that. I have one for Halls of Fate. I'm not sure why, but you can have different ones. And so you can use that. I'm not going to do access right now, but one thing to note, dungeons work differently than houses. Even though there's it looks the same, you have the same visitor, friend, trustee, they don't work the same in a dungeon. Basically, visitor and friend don't work. It's just trustee. So if you want someone to come even just tour your storage dungeon when you haven't published the dungeon, and I don't publish storage dungeons ever, if you give them trustee access, they can come in, they can move things around, they can place things, they can pick things up. They just can't delete the dungeon on you, but they have to have trustee access. If you try and bring someone with just friends access into your dungeon, they'll get booted out. For some reason, it doesn't allow visitors or friends. So you have to trust the person. To give them trustee, but that's what you need to do if you want someone to come in. So go ahead and give everyone trustee access, all your characters or whatever. All right, so we've cleaned out the clutter, we've given access. Now we can start putting items wherever we want. If some of you are familiar with the dungeon, there are a couple special items. There's a dungeon entrance item, and I'm gonna click place item. You don't need this item, but you know how sometimes when you zone into a house and there's that little housing portal thing that acts as a door so you can exit or get your house vault, and you always like, man, that's placed in a really bad spot. I wish I could hide it somewhere else. Or I don't like where I zone in. I want to zone in over this little pretty waterfall that you have to run to. With dungeons, your wish is come true. So you can actually move this dungeon item entrance to wherever you want. So I'm going to put this back in the thing so I don't bug it out again. I tried doing a video before and I bugged it out. I can go to a different room. So there's one dungeon that I've done this with. None of my other dungeons have the entrance or exit object in them. You can have them if you want. It's totally up to you. But so the reason why I have it just in this one, I really love this room, but only for special situations. So for fungus, there's not that many different kinds of mushrooms. We're getting more, but I usually have a ton of them because if you do a garden, they go fast and you use them in multiple different kinds of houses. So they're not very, they're very general items that get used all the time. So I put them in here. I, stacked them along here, each type, and then I have all this room to like build a huge row of, the parasol mushroom or whatever. So that's the only situation so far that I've put the entrance somewhere else. It's totally up to you. This room has way more light. It has way more open space. It doesn't have that thing, the platform thing with stairs. doesn't have that. This one has a sunken area in the room. Um, the second room has like a thing that pops up. And it has pillars that kind of gets in the way. But for the most part, I love this room. I don't know why. I think it's a lot easier when I try and organize later, like add things later. I put it up here and it's a different height, so I know right away that it's not already organized. But it's totally up to you. So anyway, why else do you use a storage dungeon besides being able to travel to it from multiple locations, making it really easy? You can go to the item. You can filter by the item. Notice I had typed in, when I was on the toolbox, I typed in enter for entrance, and it brought it up. So I'm going to go into another dungeon right now. So I'm going to, oops, I'm still in the thing. /house brings us up, leave dungeon. So I'm going to go to one that actually has stuff in it so you guys can see. And I'm going to go to the one that's I'm going to be doing next a video on, like organizing it. So I'm going to scroll down. Oh, one thing. The reason why I said be sure you know what you want to name it. If you rename it later, which gives you that option, it appends to the end, this apostrophe S, and then the actual layout that used. So I use layers of scale 4. Drives me insane. The only way to fix it is to grab everything that's in the dungeon, delete the dungeon, recreate it with the name that you actually like, and then replace the items. So it's a huge pain in the ass. And so, sorry for swearing. And anyway, it's just it's annoying. I don't like that it does that. I've put a bug in, but I don't think that will ever get fixed because it's low priority. So be sure you think about your names. I can't remember if I said this or not, but think about how you want to organize it. If you create the dungeons at the same time, they'll be grouped together and they'll always appear in that order together. Yes, when you go from character to character, the ones that your character created are at the top, but for the most part, the stuff stays in the same order. So anyway, I was smart on these ones. I added some. So I have a Night of the Dead merchant. It's just stuff the merchant sells. I have the harvest, so the stuff from the graveyard, like the mummy head or the plushie or the fresh grave site or whatever it's called. Um, um, there's stuff that you get only from questing. There's stuff that I want to sell later on and make money on. So I also have a couple other ones. I went. Yes, I know I'm insane. I have one that's Night of the Dead crafted. The reason why I have that one is there's a lot of people that have joined the server later on and they don't have the recipes, but they are decorating a house on this server. Yes, I'm looking at you, Wisdom. She travels around. So I created a dungeon because people are like, I don't want to bother you. So I craft like 10 of every item for that event, and then I put it in there, and then I add to it every time they add more recipes. That way, if someone misses a recipe book or something, they don't have to worry about asking me. They can just go in, take what they need. They don't have to replace it. They can do it whenever. So I have a crafted one. I have one just called Night of the Dead, and I have like every kind of item in it. Usually those kind of dungeons don't have as many of each item in there. I have stuff like Overflow, Frostfeld. I have a lot of stuff for Frostfeld because I have so many alts. If I get quested items, but I want one spot because my brain doesn't function. I can't remember. Is it crafted? Is it quested? Is it merchant? I also have one called Shared, so that has all non-crafted stuff in there. So if I get it from harvesting or the merchant or quested, if I have extra stuff that I'm willing to share, I have that dungeon. So a lot of times, I give people access to all of the holiday ones that I have organized anyway, to the shared and crafted. And then if they need something else because it's not in there, I can decide if I go into a dungeon and grab stuff for them. And I do have people request 40, 50 of some items. So, um, because I'm a go-to person for a lot of people, um, I just have lots of everything. So, yeah, my brain doesn't always function. So, yeah, I have a lot of overlapping. I have paintings in a painting dungeon, but they're from a holiday like Night of the Dead, so then it's in there too. So this way my brain doesn't have to function, v- you know, at top peak performance, which hasn't happened in a very long time. But I can go, if I need a painting, I can go in painting and see all the paintings that are available. But if I want something spooky, Night of the Dead, I know to go to the Night of Dead dungeon. So that's what I've done. It works for me. You don't have to do that. But anyway, this one is going to be the next video. Merchant. And why? Because I'm running out of space, and two, there has been a request for me to show people how I organize. Because one of those people that I've given access to the crafted and shared dungeon is like, wow, I want to be able to do this. So people with OCD will rejoice. Okay, I I was I tried doing this video once and it bugged out with this dang entrance item. That one's going back in the toolbox. There we go. Now I'm happy. All right. So what I did is I bought 20 of every item except for the tile. I bought 200 of each stained glass color. I tend to do 200 of the stained glass in each dungeon because you never know. Um, so sometimes I buy 20 of an item, sometimes I have 10. If it's frost filled, sometimes it's even 5. I try and do, you know, 5, 10, or 20 or 50, they, they're nice numbers. So as you can see, it's a disaster zone in here. The next video, you'll see how to organize it. But the reason why I came in here is just to show you there is a search feature. If you have this clicked so it's not grayed out, you can see all the items that are placed in this dungeon. And they're in alphabetical order. You can just scroll to it if you want. Or you can just type in something. So let's say I want a grave and grave stuff only. You can type that in. You can type in the first word. You can type a word in the middle, at the end. But there's one thing you need to know. Once you start typing, it's not like the broker window. You can't just say great. Let me find a different example. Let's see here. What will I search? Jack. Okay, if I type in Jack, it'll bring me all the jack-o'-lanterns. But once I start typing, I can't just say land because that's not the word. There's it's Jack dash O dash. So once you start typing, it needs to be exact, whatever follows your word. So think carefully when you're searching. Anyway, once you find an item you like, I love this. You can pick it up. It's really nice. This feature, you can just start picking that item up. I can't pick it up because it's not owned by me. But let me go to stained. So here, I'll demonstrate again. So I typed in stain, if I do a space, they go away because it's stained, not stained. So yeah, be careful how you search. So I can pick up these items really quickly. The really great thing is, when you try and remove stuff from the moving crate and it gives you that pop-up error message, you gotta like get your count down, blah blah blah, which is caused by them like giving us more item count on the houses and adding a building block type of house item count. So you don't get that pesky pop-up. Okay. There's no moving crate, there's no pop-ups, so you can just rapidly pick up stuff, which is really nice. Another thing you can do is there's a move button, so you can move, just grab one item. You can keep selecting until like let's say it's in the middle of the stack, and you want a very specific one. You can just keep trying, hit escape if it's grabbed the wrong one from the pile. There's also a go-to, so I can click this and it will put me where this item is. It's fortunately a stained glass tile, so I can get out of that pile. But yeah, you can get to that item really quickly. So if you do spread out into multiple rooms, you can go to that item really fast. Decide which one you pick. I will show you in the next video. I organize everything in a row, and I like to take stuff from one end of the row so I can kind of visually see how many I have left of the item. So, but if you don't carry, you can just use this pickup button. So, anyway, I have a tendency to just dump stuff because I'm in the middle of something and I'm in a hurry. And so I usually stack it around here and then I get stuck. So I need to go to an item to get unstuck so I can move around. One little cheat is, say you have one of those magic mouse from like Tinkerfest. You could put it like right over this entry thing and you don't have normally would have this item in Night of the Dead because there's no magic mouth in Night of the Dead. So you put it there, to go to that item. Like every dungeon you have, you should have that one item there, and so it's up above. But when you do go to, it puts you on the ground. So now you're not stuck in anything, and you're free to move. I put it like over a hallway or whatever because you need to walk through there, and you're not going to store stuff there. Anyway. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to organize everything in a neat row or a neat pile. When I dump off items, I put the item on my hotbar, so it's there, and then I can just click. It shows it. I can put it down if it's tile. I can just sit in the same spot and keep clicking, and it just stacks it up. The reason why I organize, look at these stacks. They're crooked. Drives me nuts. I don't like it. I want them to be perfect. Why OCD? So next video, I'm showing you how to do that. Oh, one last thing. If you look at the item count, you can store 2,000 regular items, 2,000 building blocks, and I know it doesn't show on this placed items thing, but in houses and dungeons and guild halls, I think guild hall has the same number as houses and dungeons. I haven't tried it, but there's a special count for books, and it's 1,000. Now in a dungeon, there's no moving crate, so it's just 1,000. In a house, it counts all building, or not all building blocks, all books. It counts all of them, whether they're placed or in the moving crate. It counts them. So it works differently. It's not just the placed items that you have to worry about. It's 1,000 books no matter where they are. Not every book actually counts as a book. Player-made books and scrolls and stuff count towards the book total instead of the regular count items. There's some books that you get from a quest, like you can write using the layout editor with. I think those books all count. I haven't tried all 4 of them. I only have tried one book, but I'm assuming all 4 of them count as the book count. So I did a lighthouse and I have trim work and stuff. I did it all with books because I was running out of building block count, so I cheated. So anyway, that's the counts that you get. There's no moving crate, but a 2,000 regular, 2,000 building block, and 1,000 book count is a big count. So I covered that. Another thing that I want to quick cover before I go and do the next video. Always, always, always save your layout. So if you add items to a dungeon or you take away, save the layout. And I like to save dungeons. I like to click the save here. I like to put a D in front of the dungeons, a G in front of guild halls, an H in front of houses. And the reason why I save is, one, it gives you the peace of mind knowing that if something messes up, you have a layout to give to the devs or the GMs to restore your items. It's very rare that you're ever going to have to do that. But the other reason why I do that is, I know not everyone uses the layout editor, but the layout editor, and I don't have it open, silly me. The layout editor, you can open the layout file. I'm going to go down to Night of the Dead. I went too far because I'm going to open the dungeon that we're in, and here's the list of items. Even if you don't know how to use the layout editor, you'll want it for this thing. So you open the layout that you've just saved and you click on this manifest, and you can sort by name or item ID or count. You can even export this to a file. But this gives you a list with the total number of each item. No more handwriting down what's in each dungeon to know if you need to like restock when Moonlight comes around or Night of the Dead comes around. You can actually sort it by count. So I like some dungeons I have like 20, some I have 10. I can click on this and look, I'm missing one of these items. So I can restock so that it's back up to the normal number for, the next year. So stained glass, I like to have 200. Notice I'm missing 4 or 6. Sorry, I looked at the 4 and said 4. So it's a really quick way to either determine if you have enough of an item to give to other or sell to other people some of the items because they don't have them, or for restocking, whatever. So I always use this manifest. You can even edit this. So if you're like in the process of like you have other things going on like laundry, you can actually type in, oh, I have 30 of these now, and then go to the next one. You know where you are, so you know if you need to buy more of an item. It's an easy way to keep track of where you are in the restocking. So don't be afraid to like change the numbers. And it went down. I sorted by count, so put it further down because I entered 30. So anyway, that's all I'm going to cover in this video. I will please tune in for the video on how to actually organize the stuff. Thanks, everybody.